Hi everyone, my name is Ellie DeRoss and I'm going to be taking you through my induction exit presentation. I am a biology and chemistry teacher at a school downtown. It's called Garfield High School, and it's a continuation school, which means that basically every 10th, 11th, and 12th grader in the district, if they have a very low amount of credits and they've been recommended, they can come to our school and try and make up those credits that they have missed for however many years. And they come to us for a variety of reasons. Either they've been absent for many semesters and that's just given them low credits because they can't get to school, or they're not going to school, or they've gotten in trouble a lot. So it's just a variety of reasons. But when they come to us, our goal is to try and make up those credits for them at a quicker pace. So we have new classes every 9 weeks. And so I'm getting new students every 9 weeks. But during the pandemic, it was a little bit different because obviously every one of us was on Zoom, but we changed our schedule so that students were getting 2 credits every 4 weeks. So they were only taking 2 classes at a time, which meant that their sessions were only 4 to 5 weeks with me. So induction was a little bit interesting in terms of focus student and those kinds of things. Implementing new strategies was cool because I got to try a lot of new things several times over and perfect it. So that's just a little bit of context for you. But that's a picture of the school, and obviously that's a picture of me. So question number 1 was briefly describe one focus student you selected for your learning partnership work and include why you selected him or her. What were your specific goals for him or her? What growth did your student make towards these goals? Which learning partnership component, mindset, identity, or skills had the greatest impact on your teaching and your focus students' learning? So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about my focus student. Her name was Kelsey. She was in the 11th grade. She had been at Garfield for 2 quarters, I believe, and she was an English learner. She was categorized as minimally developed in terms of her language ability through writing. And so we really worked on a lot of language goals when it came to explaining herself through writing. She was really, really just eager to learn and participate, which is why I chose her. I just really enjoyed having her as a student. Again, only had her for 5 weeks, but definitely saw a lot of growth. So my specific goals were, we covered natural selection in the class. So my goal for her was to be able to explain natural selection through the use of concept cartoons and modeling. So I used these concept cartoons that were given to me by actually a director of the program that I'm in for my master's degree. She came up with these, and also I came up with a conceptual inventory of natural selection. So I gave students this was my pre and post assessment. And she did so well. I gave, I think, 6 concept cartoons over the course of 5 weeks, and we did a ton of scaffolding with them. We did a lot of different activities, group activities, individual activities with these. And she was really she was always asking, like, how can I explain this better? And this is just an example of one of her responses. So the concept cartoons are laid out here, and then you can see that students were asked to circle which one was correct, A, B, C, D, or E, and then they would give an explanation for why they chose that. And she increased her score on the post assessment by 8 points, which was pretty significant compared to the rest of the class. Which learning partnership did I think have the greatest impact on teaching and my focus student, definitely identity. I did a lot of work with this, and I appreciated the emphasis throughout the 2 years of induction, just on getting to know your students, and understanding who they are, how they tick. So I did a lot of stuff with RIASEC. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's an interest inventory that basically categorizes students in these 6 different interest themes. And so we did a lot of that. We did a lot of discussion about, like, why are you that way? And what are you interested in? What do you like doing? What kinds of activities do you do that make you lose track of time? And so I did that. I did empathy interviews with them just through a Google form, where I got to kind of know, like, how do you learn best? And tell me an experience where you felt like you did something that you wanted to share with others, that you were proud of yourself for. Um, and we did a lot of talk on strengths as well. And so, what are your strengths? How can you utilize your unique interests and strengths to kind of drive your academic life? And so, from me being able to know that, it really helped me to help them. Describe the most influential aspect of your induction program on your teaching practice. Explain how participating in the induction program has changed your practice, and provide one specific example of your growth. So for question 2, I would say the most influential aspect was definitely my mentoring and coaching experience. My mentor was Camille Fowler. She is a teacher at Garfield High School. She's been teaching there for 20 years. And I just was so impacted by her and her, just her mentorship of me, and the feedback that I got from her was always just like so valuable. Our conversations were always so life-giving. And I just really appreciate that aspect of this program, the way that it's built in. So we had opportunities to talk about a lot. We talked about and worked on language objectives. That was one of the goals as our department. We worked on rubrics. We worked on feedback. How do we give students good, helpful, useful feedback? Modeling culturally responsive teaching, given everything that happened this past year in our culture, in our country. We did a ton of sharing of resources, and then bringing the world of work. So what are students going to do for careers someday, and how can we kind of implement that into the classroom? And so, yeah, it was really beneficial, especially being just kind of isolated. This was so powerful, during COVID. So really appreciate that. So this has changed my practice for sure, just because this practice of, being in community with somebody else and talking to them about your specific goals and what you're working towards. I think if I could kind of give one specific example, I would say collaboration with community has been something that I've grown in the most. And so my desire to connect students with their community just got fed and grew during this work with my mentor. And so I did a lot of professional development. I did a lot of bringing in guest speakers into my classroom, especially through Zoom. That was much easier and more feasible than in normal times. So that was really cool to be able to just expose students to a lot of different careers in science. And then doing research projects. So one of kind of my goals with my chemistry class was looking at sustainability. And that just gave rise to so much collaboration to the community, because the community of San Diego, and there's so many science research companies in this area, that I was able to just bring a lot of local people in, which was really cool. Question number 3, which ILP inquiry was most powerful for you, and why was it so powerful? What impact did it have on your teaching practice and student learning? How will you implement what you have learned in your future teaching practice? Excuse me. So, I would say that the impact of assessment and feedback, that assignment that we did, was really, really cool, because it gave me a lot of great, easy to implement resources for assessing students in a unique way and then giving them feedback in a unique way. And so I definitely saw that it increased student engagement because I did use impact. I saw the impact of peer feedback. So although I did give them feedback in the end, they gave each other feedback, and it was really heavily scaffolded to where they had to give specific feedback for one specific student in the class. And it was all anonymous, but it wasn't just score them on a scale of 1 to 10. It was like, I used 1-point rubric. So they actually had to write their specific feedback for certain parts. And that was really powerful for my teaching, because I can use it with a lot of different activities. And then for them as a learner and as a student, because the buy-in was just a little bit raised. So just again, future implementation for sure it's easy because I can put this into a lot of different assignments. It can be heavily scaffolded for students, and then allowing students to be part of the process, I think, is really powerful. So the more I can do that, the more beneficial it's going to be for me and for them. How has the process of reflection shaped your teaching practice and impacted student learning? How will you continue to utilize reflection on your practice in the future? I saw so much growth from myself just from being able to go through reflection in a guided way. So the initial, grading my CSTP level at the beginning of induction, and then being able to go back and do it again a couple weeks ago with my mentor, was really cool to be able to do that with someone. I think what's powerful about this is that you're not doing it alone. You're doing it with your mentor. And when you have somebody else that you can bounce kind of like thoughts and ideas off of, and they can say, yeah, I see this in you, and I've seen you change here. Sometimes you don't see that until somebody else points it out. And so I think that was really key to be able to go through that with my mentor. And then just doing it regularly, and being able to see connections between how my mindset kind of shifts, and then how that impacts the way that I teach and my instruction in the classroom. I'm definitely going to continue to utilize this reflection. Again, my mentor and I just got really close throughout this process, and we have decided that we're going to continue meeting together. We're going to continue to go through this reflecting process with each other. I think accountability is key when you're a teacher. You can get so isolated in your room, in your classroom with your students, and when you're not kind of sharing out like what you're doing with others, you can get stuck in a rut. It can happen to anybody. So being able to continually meet with someone and continually go through just reflection with somebody else, I think is definitely going to be beneficial, and we're definitely going to keep doing that. So just to kind of wrap up, this induction process has been really, really impactful on me as a teacher. And I think that has spilled over into the lives of my students, or at least I hope that it has, But overall, I've seen growth in myself, in my students, as I've gone through this induction journey. And I've been given the opportunity to gain an outside in perspective of how I teach. So when you're asked questions like, where do you rate yourself? Like what we were just talking about with reflection, on a scale of 1 to 5 or whatever from these things, and being able to look at that and like really think about it, be reflective about it, and then work towards change. I appreciate the value that's placed on students in this program, and who they are as people first and as an academic second. Um, and I'll continue to take what I've learned from this experience and always be mindful of how I do what I do, and know and embrace that, and be able to just perfect it and continually be changing and learning, because as teachers we should always be embracing change, and the fact that we are lifelong learners. We tell our students we want them to be lifelong learners, and so if we don't model that for them, then what's that's not going to penetrate the way we want it to. So I hope to keep changing for the better, and I really appreciate just the chance to go through this kind of program. So thank you.